Ladies and gentlemen, great to be here. John, great job. I first want to mention I am a Board of Education member. You know, once a chief, always a chief, and one word describes my experience at Massapequa High School, and it was transformation. I went from a shy, small ninth grader with no confidence in the classroom, on the field, went on to Wake Forest University where I was a two-time All-American, and then also graduated with a major in history and a minor in politics. Transformation, thanks to our teachers and to our coaches. I'm now proud to say that I have a wife who's also a teacher. I met her at Massapequa High School, and then 4 other kids who benefit from a great education at Massapequa. And Governor Cuomo, public schools are working. They're working every day. Thanks to all the teachers, parents, community activists out there. Thank you very much. I would also add that many people remember on Newsday from about 2 weeks ago, it mentioned that Nassau Suffolk is actually the highest, the most expensive place to live in the country. Hence, you know, taxes are very high, but what we're getting is a fantastic quality public education. Without that, people are going to leave Governor Cuomo. They're not going to have the communities, not just the education, but they won't have the communities like Massapequa to live in anymore. So please remember that. Well, listen, our jobs just got tougher. Everybody out there, educators, teachers, administrators, community activists. So we've been challenged, and I know we're up for the challenge. You know, when I was on the Buffalo Bills, Marv Lever was our coach, Jim Kelly was our quarterback. We had a game plan. This is your game plan right here. Take it home, spread the word, educate and impact Governor Cuomo and Albany about our mission to save public schools and give the greatest gift we can give our young people, education. You know, in the end, we're all in this together and we all have motivation. But what is motivation? It's not wishing or wanting or hoping. It's believing, and believing in our public schools. So with that, our mission is to provide the greatest gift we can provide our young people, a quality education. I want to thank you for your time and effort, and continue to fight. Thank you very much.
Is a school psychologist who's been a psychologist for 29 years, teaching learning theory at Dowling as well, Dr. Stuart Merrick.
Thank you very much. And John, you got me all pumped up, so I'm going to go off message for a minute because I was asked to come and talk about the testing. But the main issue for me when I was asked and what made me inspired to come and do this is because we cannot stand to see politicians suck the joy out of learning for our students and suck the love of teaching from our teachers. We cannot do that, and that's why I'm here, and that's why we're all here. So, I was asked to speak on behalf of school psychology. I'm proud to stand here tonight to speak the truth about the harm that the over-testing and the high-stakes testing is causing to our teachers and our students. The main issue that parents and teachers talk about is often test anxiety. In fact, the New York Association of School Psychologists put out a testing anxiety toolkit. This is true, and it's 150 pages long, which includes PowerPoints and whatever, so it would be about this high if I brought it. But I have a better idea. How about we remove the cause and cure that problem? But until then, the issue of anxiety is here, and test anxiety is real. We know anxiety is a problem for our students. So I want to talk a little clinically about what does that do to our students. Well, anxiety is linked to the function of the amygdala, which is an area of the brain that's an information filter, and it's based upon emotional state. So when we're calm and peaceful, if our students are in that state of mind, that filter opens up to the prefrontal cortex where executive functions take place, such as working memory, reasoning, problem solving, higher order thinking. and also supervisory attention systems. Those are all executive functions. However, when a human being, and I'm not sure if the governor realizes our children are human beings, when a human being is stressed and anxious, the filter between the amygdala and the front cortex closes, and the information stays in the amygdala, which is a primitive brain system controlling fight or flight. So none of those higher order thinking processes can take place when we're anxious. And as we all know, children are not just anxious when they're taking the test. They are anxious the whole year long regarding all of the test prep. It's not just the test. Yes, I would refuse the test for my children. However, that's not the problem. That's not the only problem, but start there. My niece has a kindergarten daughter. I know, it's shocking. How is that possible? I'm so young. But she does. And last Friday, she was crying when it was time to get on the bus and go to school. She said she had a stomachache. And when her mother questioned her further, she found out that, well, she knew, but she told her the reason she was crying and upset is because she had a math test. This is kindergarten. This is unbelievable to me as a psychologist, as an educator, that a kindergartner is going to worry about a math test. But that was the case. And she didn't want to get on the bus. So let's go back to the other issue of the anxiety. What does that do? Well, as I said, it blocks executive functioning, which is also controlling supervisory attention issues. So children that are anxious are going to not be able to attend as well. They're not going to be able to attend as well. They're going to become distracted. They're probably going to be fidgety. They're probably going to look for something else to do to keep them interested. And what is that going to look like? Well, that's going to look like ADHD. So across this state, we have an increase, a tremendous increase in children who are referred for ADHD because of that executive functioning not working. That's in fact the definition. And what happens when you have an increase in referrals? The statistics work simply. If you have more referrals, you have more diagnoses, and part of the treatment is behavior plans. Those of us that recognize where the problem lies, let it sit. However, there are pediatricians and neurologists that will prescribe medication for these children. So it's not hyperbole to say that these tests create the anxiety, which impacts executive functioning, which leads to children being medicated across New York State and this country for no good reason. And it needs to stop. The other issue that's a problem that these state tests are reading and math. And as the gentleman said, I did teach learning theory at Dowling College for a while at a master's level with teachers. And one of the most important subjects was Gardner's multiple intelligences. Many of the students talking tonight talked about how important it was for them in the music, in the arts, in sports, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, spatial intelligence. And one of the things that the teachers would do as part of this course would to try and help to devise lessons that would reach children in all of those intelligences. So the ones that have logical mathematical, math, and verbal linguistic, reading, strengths, could also have any of the other ones and still feel smart. But how many kids are telling us, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I don't like school, I'm not good at this? It's because those other intelligences are not able to be tapped because of test prep all year long. All right, I was told I don't have that much time, and I've listed the negative consequences, the anxiety, the ADHD, there's depression. School refusal is another issue. We used to call it school phobia, but now they're refusing to come to school. Sorry, but can't blame them. But we have to have them come. No joking there. So to be fair and balanced, like sometimes I watch on TV, I'm going to present the other side of the coin. So the benefits to the students for this high-stakes testing and excessive testing is something I really want to go over. Thank you.
Fair and balanced. Fittingly, our closing speakers this evening are representatives of our host school and district, and we thank them as representatives of their entire community from Westbury High School, students Gabriela Reyes, Alex Lopez, and Dave LaCroix.
When I started school, I hated doing my homework because all the words to me looked like gibberish. I remember thinking it would be a nearly impossible task to master this language. However, with the help of my kindergarten teacher, slowly but efficiently, I started to learn. A year later, my ability to speak, read, and write English had improved greatly. I made so much progress that I was put into an English-speaking class for first grade. From there, I continued to excel and was put in the honors class when I started elementary. I was able to take the U.S. history and integrated algebra regions, which are usually reserved for high school students. Now, in my senior year of high school, I am taking several AP classes. I have been granted the opportunity of being a pioneer in the Intel program of Westbury. I am the representative for Westbury High School for Congressman Israel's Youth Cabinet. I am also participating in the Angel del Toro Hispanic Youth Leadership Institute, through which I was able to meet Assemblyman Raw and discuss with him 3 different bills. And this upcoming weekend, I will be able to represent his points of view in Albany. As my senior year is coming to end, I am grateful to Westbury High School, a public school that has granted me all these wonderful opportunities. And thank you all for supporting us too, believing in us students, and a special thanks to Assemblyman Raw for attending us.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Alexander López Guevara y me acuerdo que vine a este país sin saber una palabra de inglés. Es difícil crecer en un país tan nuevo, pero te digo que sí se puede, porque yo lo logré. Now, how many of you actually understood that? Well, for those of you that didn't, know that it was exactly how the English language sounded at first. In a place dominated by all forms of art and sciences, it was necessary for me to master the English language before I became a part of the culture itself. And as I struggled to taste the English language and let it roll from my tongue, I felt a sense of failure and indifference. Luckily, with support from teachers and family, I endured it. And here I am now, happy to say that I'm one of the top 10 in my class. I'm in Ms. Kairula's AP Literature class. And I was named Nassau County's top scholar artist for the year 2014 for my art and my dedication to my grades. And right now, I'm striving to attend, hopefully, the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. And study communications design. And, well, with this degree, I'll show off everything I've learned throughout my life, starting from the mastery of the English language and the honing of my art skills. And to think I've come a long way from where I started off, and I think we've all come a long way from where we started off. And I'm standing here speaking eloquently, shakingly, truthfully, vigorously, as a very proud Hispanic, and I couldn't even describe my gratitude to the Westbury School District. Honestly, you teachers, you motivate us. You tell us how to act properly. And I know there's so many of us who just, we're trapped in our own little world. We're teenagers. But you have to put up with us because Because I'm standing here to tell you that every kid's life matters. And even if a kid has given up on himself, you should never ever give up on him or them.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank all of you for coming here tonight. And my name is Dave Style LaCroix. So, thank you. I came to New York when I was about 10 years old. I didn't speak a word of English, but Westbury's beauty just mesmerized my heart. And I knew, because while in Haiti, everyone would always tell you America's a land of opportunity. So as a first-generation high school student, I had no other choice but to get an education, because for me, that was my ticket out. My hunger for success has been greatly augmented by those around me. As the years progressed and I matriculated, my teachers pushed me, my family nurtured me, and my community ultimately changed me. Academically, I immersed myself in the most rigorous courses my school had to offer. As I flourished academically, my teachers always kept telling me, what can you do better? What can you do better? Subsequently, this led to the publication of my first book, Into the Abyss, The Never-Filled Experience. The creation of this book stemmed from my desire to give back. During my junior year, I wanted to set a precedent. I wanted to make every single person in Westbury proud. As a result, my book has been widely distributed through the country by different vendors such as Barnes & Nobles and Amazon. Participation in the varsity track team claiming a county championship in 2014. With these accomplishments in my education and in my community, I've realized that my heart will always lie within this beautiful place called Westbury. If I could turn back time, I wouldn't trade it for anything. My community has made me into the man that I am today, a man who aspires to dream and challenge society's limits. To all those in Westbury who have helped me in any way or form, I am forever in your gratitude in my heart, forever in Westbury. Thank you, everyone, and special thanks to Assemblyman Salazino for being here.
Recently, I was visiting friends in the state of Florida. It seems that there is an epidemic there of charter schools. These charter schools are taking the money from the public schools. They are also taking only the elite students from the public schools. And they do not seem to be very successful in educating the whole person to live in a very real, diverse world. Today's public schools educate the whole child, every child, not just the elite and not just a select few. We live in this world with all kinds of people, some very intelligent, some of average intelligence, some with special needs, black people, brown people, white people, Christians, Jews, Muslims, etc. So, it is very important that our children attend public schools with these very same diverse people. This, Governor Cuomo, is the real world. I have been very fortunate to have been able to give my children this opportunity in the public schools. And I want to thank the woodworking shop teacher in a public school for helping a special education student make the stool I am standing on.
Public schools are always there for everyone to avail themselves. you know that although Long Island educates 17% of New York State's students, Long Island only receives 12% of the overall state education budgetary allotment? Dealing with that sad reality every day, the Assistant Superintendent of the West Hempstead Union Free School District, Richard Cunningham.
Thank you for the introduction. I guess that means I'm supposed to throw out the state aid jargon at this point. My name is Rich Cunningham. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction in the West Hempstead School District. Thank you. I've been in West Hempstead for about 10 years and I've held some other positions, including Assistant Superintendent for Business, Acting Superintendent, and Deputy Superintendent. My background gives me a very unique perspective into student achievement, staff evaluation, and public school funding. First, I'd like to thank NYSA for organizing this event and the Westbury School District for hosting it. I'd also like to thank West Hempstead's Assembly representatives. I am not a NYSA member. Raise your hand if you're not a NYSA member or you don't even know what a NYSA is. Okay, I know you're here in the gym. If you don't know what a NYSA is, you're not a member. This is not just a NYSA thing. This conflict that we're experiencing that brings us here tonight is not a NYSA thing. Purposefully overlooking the negative effects of fiscal and policy proposals will have on education of our children, whether they grow up in disadvantaged communities, wealthy communities, or communities that fall in between those two ends of the economic spectrum, is my friend's baloney. I'm going to speak about two things: school funding and the governor's proposal to change the teacher evaluation system. Governor Cuomo continues to say that New York State has 178 failing schools that are located predominantly in poor and/or minority areas. And he continues to say more money has not helped. I ask, where is the money? Poor areas have low tax bases to begin with, so the effects of the tax cap are especially onerous. These schools rely upon state funding to provide services to help their students succeed. Proposals such as opening more charter schools or putting schools into receivership do not help these districts provide the level of social services and educational support disadvantaged students need. If you avoid the trap of believing the rhetoric on this topic, you'll find that hiding the ongoing problem of helping students and families in disadvantaged communities behind the label of a new program is just that, an attempt at hiding an issue that needs to be solved through local community effort and renewal. And New York State has not helped schools in disadvantaged communities, or any community for that matter, by providing more financial support. Since 2008, most school districts have operated with lower levels of state aid by the imposition of the deficit reduction assessment. This has been conveniently rebranded the gap elimination adjustment. And the news out of Albany is there's no longer a deficit, and the New York State budget gap has been eliminated. In fact, there's a budget surplus. But for some reason, the GEA remains, and the executive budget proposal seems to ignore that fact. How does this play out locally? Since 2008, the West Hempstead School District has done everything our state government has asked us to do. We've done more with less, and all employees have made sacrifices. Because of declining revenues, we have had to cut programs and services for students, even though all of our employees have taken pay freezes and paid more for benefits. Our teachers in particular have agreed to several freezes on step, a hard salary freeze, and increased contributions to the cost of benefits. These are sacrifices that the West Hempstead community can never give back to our teachers. Meanwhile, as the needs of our students increase because of rising poverty and a trend in increasing educational need, our teachers are working longer days because their students simply need the help. This isn't some romantic storytelling. This is fact. I can see it from where I sit as a business administrator and instructional leader. New York State has a surplus, and West Hempstead's gap elimination adjustment sits at over $1.3 million for this school year. Yes, a subtraction of $1.3 million in state aid. Over the past 5 years, West Hempstead has lost out in over $7 million in state aid. And New York State's running a surplus. The school district we're in right now, Westbury, has lost out on over $13 million in the last 5 years due to gap elimination adjustment. How might the students in Westbury prosper with an additional $13 million? In Albany, I only have 5 minutes or so to speak here. I simply do not have time to catch up and talk to you about the phasing of foundation aid. How do you ignore that? Well, West Hempstead has gotten its state aid cut to help New York State close its budget deficit. My school district has an increasing budget deficit itself. We have been using reserves and fund balance, just as the governor has asked us to do. And we have squeezed expenses we cannot continue to run on our reserves. In about 2 years, without the help on the revenue side of the budget, we'll be out of reserves. And the West Hempstead Administration and Board of Education believes Albany doesn't care. We know there are many school districts across New York State in the same financial position we are in, and some are even further gone than we are. Instead, we're threatened with minimal and yet to be quantified state aid increase if the legislature does not agree to another poorly planned, quickly implemented teacher evaluation plan that will cost us more to implement and will not give us what we needed. Help me answer these questions. This is audience participation. If implemented, would this new teacher evaluation plan be yet another unfunded mandate? Yes. Will this plan cause greater leverage to teach to the test? Yes. Does this plan ignore the voices of parents who are increasingly skeptical about these tests? Yes. And would these new teacher evaluation plans help our students? No. I got somebody there, I heard that. We ask Albany to remove the gap elimination adjustment for all school districts. We ask Albany to stop adding unfunded mandates. We ask Albany to drop the governor's proposal on teacher evaluations so that New York State can get it right this time. We need to adopt an evaluation system that can guide teachers to improve throughout their career and that helps employers make the right employment decisions, not a system that will be used to rank schools and qualify teachers for merit pay. We ask you to listen to the people, like everyone here, who has the guts to show their faces, to raise their voices, and to struggle for what is right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, and keep up the good fight.
A blue postcard, set of postcards and messages. Would you please take the time to fill those out as our program proceeds? Students from our various schools will be around to collect them. These are going to be a vital part of our initiative moving forward. Please fill out those blue postcards. The New York State School Boards Association is a partner and an ally on the educational battleground that we all share. School board trustees are elected volunteers, and more importantly, there are community neighbors and friends. Up next is a trustee from the Hicksville Public Schools Board of Education. He is also a 2012 graduate of Hicksville High School, Mr. Michael Beneventano.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak here tonight. And this is a special moment for me because as I speak to you all, I see the reason why I'm here. And I see all the teachers that I've had. In addition to my parents, they helped me get to this point too. But just so you know, it means the world to me. So thank you again for the invitation. And let me say something else that isn't really said. Students don't say this enough, but we are forever grateful for the work that teachers and parents put in. So thank you so much. I look back at my experience as a student, and I think to myself, the Hicksville Public School District is really the epitome and a microcosm for what public education can be. we're a very diverse community. We have 31 languages spoken, and we have a community that cares very much. And we have challenges in front of us, but we come together and we solve them. And so, much of the public discourse around all these challenges that we've had in the state, it's been very negative. But I want to talk about some of the positive things that are going on in the Hicksville School District. Over the last 3 years, we've had annually 500 students get inducted into our honor societies. That's pretty incredible. We've had at least 50 AP scholars in the last 3 years, most recently 61 in 2014, graduating class. And just this year, the district finished its initiative to give every student in our middle school an iPad, further enhancing their education. And we've also been able to reduce the class sizes in our elementary schools, which we all know is vitally important. So students can get And oh, by the way, we have a great fine arts and athletics program. 70 students this past year were participating in the NMEA competitions, and an overwhelming majority of our athletic teams are scholar athlete teams. So, testament to And as a recent graduate, I know how important all these programs are for our students as we grow as life learners and people, and I'm certainly a beneficiary of that. But now as a board member, I realize how difficult these fiscal challenges are. And the reason why I bring up all these successes is this. In the last 4 years, Hicksville has lost $11.5 million due to the gap elimination adjustment. And despite all that, we've been able to accomplish a great deal. So I implore all of you to think, imagine what Hicksville could do, even more than what they're already doing, with that money that's rightfully ours. Thank you very much.
School and Kayla King Sumner from Freeport High School.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Already got a nice introduction already? Okay. All right, so you've already heard from the rest of the students, and you see how successful and powerful a public education can be. So I'll just share with you some of my experiences. When I started in high school, I wasn't exactly shy, but I started to get bullied a lot for my unique experiences and everything, and it started to bring me down, and I never really thought that I could be successful. It wasn't really until I had the support of my teachers and my parents to help me understand that I could be successful. So I started to join different extracurricular activities. I joined the school newspaper, and now I'm senior editor of the school newspaper. And in fact, I've turned it into an award-winning school newspaper. I've also joined my school's radio station, and now I'm one of the radio announcers at my school's radio station. Yes, we do. I have one of those, which is pretty cool. And with all of those experiences put together, I've been able to take my knowledge and my talents outside of the Freeport School District. 2 years ago, I went across the pond to England to study journalism at Oxford University. Because of my public education and what I knew, I didn't need to go to some fancy $30,000 school to achieve that. And just last year, I got the opportunity to take some classes at Syracuse University, and also last year, I was nominated to represent the entire state of New York for a journalism competition in Washington, D.C., founded by the founder of USA Today. And when I won that award, I knew I didn't just win it for me, but I won it for Long Island. I won it for my state. I won it for my country. that, I made it a long way, and I intend to keep going with that. Before I get kicked off the stage, I want to just ask, raise your hand if you're an educator. Raise your hand if you're a female educator. That's a lot of women right there. So before I leave, I just want to point out that Governor Cuomo's attack on public education is not just an attack on the students, it's an attack on women. Because it's mainly female profession, right? Right? They don't just care about their children at home, they care about everyone's children, right? And that's why we need to protect their professions. We need to treat them with the utmost respect. And we need to protect public education.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jalen Simmons. I'm currently a senior at Baldwin High School. It's often said that it takes a village to raise a child, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of a school system where that value is really truly embodied every single day. As a student, who's been attending Baldwin School since kindergarten, I can unabashedly attest to its excellence. What was valuable about an education in Baldwin is that we were taught that we live in a democratic republic. And in a democratic republic, each citizen not only has the right to voice their opinion, they also have an obligation to. So, therefore, I stand before each and every one of you today, and I say to the state of New York that students are not a statistic. Teaching is not about testing. Teaching is about learning. Excessive standardized testing effectively takes away the inspiration from learning, and that is harmful to everybody. Baldwin has led me to recognize that success begins in the classroom, more specifically with the teachers. One of the great successes of Baldwin is that the classroom environment created by the teachers allows the students to become a part of the learning process instead of sitting on the sidelines and just allowing it to happen. There's nothing more obvious to a student when a teacher truly enjoys what they do, when they walk in with a smile on their face, and that spirit is infectious. It creates a learning environment that really allows the students to grow unhindered. Not only does Baldwin stress education, it allows us to expand in arts, music, sports, and extracurriculars. Despite popular opinion, these are not simply a way of filling a resume. They are ways to build community, friendship, and character, all at once. To conclude, success is nurtured in the classroom, but is continued at home with the student. When opportunity knocks, a teacher opens the door, but each and every day we have students who take it upon themselves to walk through the doorway. At the end of the day, our time in high school is what we choose to make of it. Consistency, good study habits, and motivation are embodied every day in our public school classrooms. When teachers and students are able to come together, it fosters these components and enables us to move on to the next level. Come graduation, I can honestly say that my experience in Baldwin public schools has given me the confidence and leadership skills necessary to pave my way towards my own future. On a more personal note, as I said, teachers are so incredibly important in the process of education. And here tonight, there are two teachers who I consider crucial in my own learning experience at Baldwin High School. So Ms. Stephanie Muir and Mr. John Buglione, please step up. Mr. Buglione, I hate history. I despise history. I'm sorry, Mr. Buglione, but I do. But Mr. Buglione, he taught me AP US history last year when I was a junior, and it was the first time in my life I've ever enjoyed learning history. When you are in his classroom, it's not a lecture, it's not boring, it's a dialogue. He's talking to you, you're talking to him, you're learning history together. And then Miss Muir, she is my orchestra teacher. She's actually been teaching me since 7th grade. I'm in 12th grade now. And it's so amazing because we've seen each other grow. You know, she's seen me turn from the 7th grade little girl to the young woman I am now, and I've seen her get married. I've seen her first and second child born. So I just want to recognize both of you because you're both really amazing at what you're doing.
How the hell can anybody say there's a problem with our education system when you have these young people here that represent the very finest in our educational system? And it's because of you, their teachers, and their parents. So, I gotta go off my script just a little. Okay, first of all, Barbara, where are you? I can't see, but thank you very much for the invitation to be here this evening. And I bring you greetings from the 250,000 union members here on Long Island that make up the Long Island Federation of Labor. Now, Mr. Cunningham, I enjoyed your remarks, but there's something I want to help you with. You had asked about NYSET. Who doesn't know what NYSET is? I'm here to tell you.
I used to be a member.
And I used to be young. Never thin, but young. The New York State United Teachers. United for their students, united for their communities, united to bring the best education that Long Island could see, New York could see. The work that they do is God's work. If you're a NYSET member, stand up. Don't be shy, stand up. Now let me tell you something, NYSET members. Look at the person standing to your left. And look at the person standing to your right, and look at the person standing behind you. That's your brother, that's your sister, that's the person who's going to fight for you day in and day out. Give them a hand. NYSET members, lock arms with the person next to you. Arm in arm. Come on, don't be shy. If you don't know them, introduce yourself, but put yourselves arm in arm together for our kids and for our communities. Stand united, stand together, fight for each other. Be proud of what you do each and every day. So I have to ask a question, but I have the light in my eyes so I can't see. Is there anybody here from Belmore Kennedy? Okay. There's a bit of personal privilege. Two of my kids graduated from Belmore Kennedy. And my youngest child, you know, I've done this before, and I get choked up, and I can feel it coming. My youngest child was a bit shy. And he met two teachers, Craig Payback and Brian DiGattano. And they took that young man, and they molded him, they developed him, they encouraged him, so that today he's a teacher and a coach. Because they inspired him, they gave him encouragement, they made him feel wonderful. And to the day I die, I owe them, and I owe every teacher that's in this room. Our Long Island Federation of Labor stands with you each and every day. But for what it's worth, I as a parent, I as a labor leader, stand with you, next to you, and behind you. And those two gentlemen, forever. They will be special to me. Now, I went to Wantua High School. Thank God somebody's here from Wantua. Okay. I wasn't exactly a scholar. I heard somebody say, I know. All right, so we'll chat later.
Indoor voice, indoor voice.
But for me, if I'm having a tough day, I go back to Wantua and I drive around because the teachers, the community, help mold me, help make me the person that I am today. Some might like that, some might not. But it's because of the community, it's because of the teachers, it's because of the atmosphere that was created because of local control, local decisions, what the parents wanted for their children. It's what we fight for each and every day. It's why we live here. It's why we pay our taxes here. It's why we vote here, because this is our community. Nobody tells us what to do. It's our community. We make the decisions. You know, I was listening to Reverend Benjamin before, and it's a hard act to follow. I mean, the guy is passionate, right? And I don't know if I'm getting the evil eye or not. Maybe I'm talking too long, but you give a lady leader a microphone and an audience, I can do 3 hours. I won't. Take it easy. Saladino's already given me the evil eye over here. Look, folks. My message to you from your brothers and sisters in labor is that we're all in this together. We're in it for our kids. We're in it for our fair share. We're in it for the dignity and respect each and every one of you are entitled to. These are our communities, our kids, our schools. We're going to fight like hell to make sure everything that you deserve, that we deserve in our communities, you're going to get. God bless you. Thank you so much.